What's he asking about God? He says, okay, back then we've got the plantation, we've got the guy who's developing it, and then we've got, and while he's developing the plantation, and there's slavery going on, and there is injustice to humanity, and then he, arbiter, architect, umpire, God condoned, or did he look down and saw, or did he see, or at least did nothing, saw and could not, or did not see, saw and would not do? I mean, I'm throwing in extra words to help. What's he asking about God?
Like, if he sees the curse, and like, could he not do anything about it, or can he, and is he going to do something about it?
Yes. He's saying, what was God doing when slavery was in force? Did God condone it? What do you think? Was God going, yes, this is okay? I think so. Do you think so? Did God think slavery was okay? No? Oh, come on, people. Let's have, like, does somebody actually believe that you're just kind of going, think so, or am I going to say the wrong answer? What do you think?
Slavery was not supposed to happen.
Slavery was not supposed to happen. Thank you. It was not a good thing. I'm sorry, I've been teaching a suffering class, and so it's like, do you really think it's okay? You really think God thinks this is okay? No! Okay, right? Right? Right, thank you. Okay, good. Okay, so what's God doing? If he didn't condone it, then was he perverse? Perhaps he would not see, he refused to see it. Is he perverse? Is he weird enough to think slavery is okay? Or is God impotent? What does it mean to be impotent?
The opposite of omnipotent.
The opposite of omnipotent. So
exactly.
God, what?
Word for word as I was thinking it.
It's the opposite of omnipotent. What does, okay, so is God, he's asking, is God perverse, meaning basically evil? Is God evil? Or is God impotent? And impotent is the opposite of omnipotent, which would...
Powerless.
Yeah. Is God powerless?
Limited. Just saying.
Or is he blind? He's not, doesn't know? And this is an ancient question about suffering. It's the question of theodicy, not the Odyssey with Odysseus and all those guys, but theodicy. The question of if God is all good, if God is, I'll have to erase the chapter stuff. If God is all good, all-knowing, all-powerful, good, knowing, powerful,
Loving.
loving, thank you, and all-loving, why do bad things happen to good people? Right?
Without problems, we wouldn't have compassion and mercy.
So God needs those evil things so we can be compassionate and merciful? God needs evil?
He doesn't need evil because he can do whatever he wants, but...
He can do it. He can do it another way.
Right.
Why? Is there a rational explanation?
Not to our thoughts.
There you go. Not to our thoughts. And if you, it's kind of like you have to kind of get beyond. I mean, God's not limited by, as David Bentley Hart says, by the Euclidean mind. Okay, we can't limit God to algebra or whatever, or Euclidean geometry. Limit God to geometry, I guess, not algebra. I don't understand algebra. Anyhow. But okay, so he would not see. Is he perverse, impotent, or blind, or what? And then McCaslin said, dispossessed. What? Dispossessed, not impotent. He didn't condone, not blind because he watched it, and let me say it, dispossessed of Eden, dispossessed of Canaan. Look at footnote 3, the Bible's promised land flowing with milk and honey. And those who dispossessed him, dispossessed him, dispossessed. And the 500 years of absentee landlords, ooh, we've heard about absentee landlords before in Swift. In the Roman banos, and the 1,000 years of wild men from the northern woods who dispossessed them and devoured their ravished substance, ravished in turn again, and then snarled in what you call the old world's worthless twilight. The old world's worthless twilight over the old world's gnawed bones, blasphemous in his name until he used a simple egg to discover to them a new world where a nation of people could be founded in humility and pity and sufferance and pride of one to another. And grandfather did own the land, nevertheless, and notwithstanding because he, God, permitted it, not impotent, not condoning, not blind, because he ordered and watched it, he saw the land already accursed, even as Icamatubi. What? Icamatubi and Icamatubi's father, old Isatiba, and old Isatiba's fathers too, held it already tainted even before any white man owned it by what grandfather and his kind, his fathers, had brought into the new land, which he had vouchsafed them out of pity and sufferance, on condition of pity and humility and sufferance and endurance, from that old world's corrupt and worthless twilight, as though in the sailfuls of the old world's tainted wind, which drove the ships, and Macassan. And no hope for the land anywhere so long as Icamatubi and Icamatubi's descendants held it in unbroken succession. Maybe he, God, saw that only by voiding the land for a time of Icamatubi's blood and substituting for it another blood could he accomplish his purpose, and so forth and so on. Okay, it goes back to Icamatubi, the curse goes back to Icamatubi, I-K, how many K's are in Icamatubi, I can't remember. Two, thank you. I-K-K-E-M-O-T-U, one B? Two B's. Man, Faulkner just makes it as hard as he can. Icamatubi and his father and all the way back. Because there was that sense in which the Indians, Native Americans, would have held the land, but they didn't sell it to each other, right? There wasn't this sense of...
They didn't own the land, they just used it.
They just used it, yeah. And there wasn't the sense of it's mine, and if you would like to cut a path through our property, we're going to charge you this tax, and then we'll mark off which part the county mows and which part you mow, and it didn't work that way. It was just held to be used. Okay. So he talks about that the curse started when Icamatubi or Icamatubi's father and grandfathers or whoever the first one was that really thought that he could sell it to the first white man. When somebody thought that they owned it enough to sell it to somebody else, that's when the curse started, because then there was this sense that it's not our land, or excuse me, it's not God's land, it's our land, which is what you were saying. Whose land is it? Really, it's God's. So the curse starts when people try to say, this is my land, and I'm going to sell it to you, because how much of it do you own? I mean, if your parents own a house and property, I mean, how far up and how far down do your rights go? You know,
That's why there's airspace. I own the airspace, so the building can't build.
But seriously, then even if you like own the house and you paid like the whole mortgage off, you still have to pay property tax, and you can they can take your house away. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's still not
even if you paid for the house, they can take your house for property taxes. If they discovered oil under my house, I wouldn't get the money for, I don't even know who has mineral rights to my house and yard and everything. I wouldn't get the mineral rights to that, somebody else does. And you know, if I drilled all the way through, I'm not sure where we would get to. Is it the ocean, Indian Ocean, or is it China? I don't know. Everybody, I thought when I was going to dig to China, but you know, if you don't own the whole thing, and it's not really mine, right? So there's this thing of when you think you own something and it's yours and you can control it, and that goes for the land is cursed. And then if you think about what does that say about slavery, owning people, and then owning land that is basically ill-got, like the bag of money that somebody ran in here and threw at you and ran out. You know, you don't want stolen money, right? Who wants stolen money? So it's, you know, there's a curse on it, that sort of thing. So it's inherited land, it's cursed, and now what does Isaac decide he's gonna do?